And I love those guys.
Yeah, great band. And, John's another guy, John Bush, another guy that for a long time did not want to tour. And now his kids are older, and now he seems to have talked to him, definitely has the itch to get out there a little bit. So by my estimation, this will be the most large-scale touring they've done in terms of the U.S. in a very long time. So that's another...
Yeah, I got a great respect for him. He's a talented guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the band is great. But John is a really, really talented guy. And I've not seen everything he's done since we started back in the early 80s. But, I would see things he would do from time to time. And he's a serious guy. I'm really glad to have them out.
And how come Schenker on the handful of shows, Texas and Oklahoma, how did that happen?
Because the timing, he's starting on I believe the East Coast, whatever it was, because I asked about doing more dates together. It seems that the two bands are going in different directions on the tour. And the Texas thing, just the timing happened where everybody could be in that same location roughly at the same time. So after the Tulsa show, they're going one direction and we're going the other. And like I said, I wish it could have been more of it because, listen, he's something else. When I say that, for a lot of reasons, but he may not even be aware of it. But his history with us goes back a lot more than he may even remember. I mean, the first time we met him was in '78 when Chris and I had the band Sister. Mm-hmm. And there was a period in L.A. where UFO had played a show, and he went missing after that, and nobody knew where he was. And there was a rumor that there was a religious cult called the Moonies. The Moonies had kidnapped him and was converting him into their cult. It wasn't true. He was with us.
I heard that rumor.
Every day.
I heard that rumor. I didn't know he was with you, but I had heard that rumor about the Moonies.
Well, I'll tell you how somehow, some way, he gets to be friends with Holmes. I still don't know how it happened, but we're in rehearsal one day. We had this rehearsal place in Hollywood. And this is a true story, what I'm getting ready to say right now. So we're in rehearsing. Michael had rented some Corvette. Now, Chris, at the time, had a Honda 750 motorcycle, and this thing was a beast. I mean, this thing could get up close to 200 miles an hour. It was a no-nonsense bike that Chris had hot-rodded. I mean, this thing was a monster. So Michael comes in. Whose bike is it? Chris is mine. He goes, can I drive it? Chris goes, no. He goes, that thing's going to get you killed. He goes, you're nowhere near prepared to get on something like that. Michael's not taking no for an answer. So this goes on for about 20 minutes, and finally Chris goes, okay, you got that vet out there? Give me the keys. Michael hands him the keys. Chris hands him the keys to the bike. So we're taking a break. And where we rehearsed, we had a little kitchenette area that was behind the rehearsal room. Now, where this kitchenette area was, there was a sidewalk about 3, maybe 4 feet wide. And that sidewalk went from where we were all the way down to Sunset Boulevard, which was about 2 blocks away. And I'm in the kitchen doing something, and the doors were open. And I hear from a distance, and I look out the window, and it's him on this bike. He's come from my left-hand side, flies by the window. I stick my head out of the window to watch what he's doing, because at the speed he's going, Sunset Boulevard, which is a 6-lane road, is coming up real fast. And I'm thinking, he's going to stop any second. He's going to stop any second. Oh, shit, he's not going to stop. He went I never saw the brake lights flash. He went across Sunset and never hit the brake, nor did he get hit. Which is a miracle. This is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a miracle he wasn't splattered all over that road. I don't know if he remembers any of this.
Oh, Blackie, Not only am I sure that he probably remembers it, knowing Michael, but I guarantee you Phil Mogg could tell you 55 similar stories of the time he was in the band with him, because Phil has told me so many similar stories, it's not even funny. So it's, it's very much in the wheelhouse of Michael Schenker's stories, for sure.
Well, a couple of days later, we decided to go out to a club on the Strip. He, at the end of the evening, decides he wants to drive the car after he's had a few drinks. Well, needless to say, we're poo-pooing that idea. We learned about him. He's persistent when he wants to do something. We're going down Sunset. Me and Holmes, this was a four-door car. It was like, some old GTO or something like that. Michael's driving. Our bass player's in the riding shotgun. Chris and I are in the back. It got so bad, we were going down a hill at one point. Chris and I were hiding in the back seat on the floorboard because we knew we were going to crash. We were going to get wrapped around a telephone pole any second.
You were braced for impact.
Absolutely. And we were drunk.
I got to do a quick break here, so we're going to put you on hold, and then we're going to come back. I want to ask you about potentially new music, box set, book, and then I got some callers that would love to ask you a question or two. So thank you for being so generous. I'm so glad WASP is back. I'm glad you're back. This is going to be awesome. Again, in case you're just tuning in, Blackie Lawless is with me and has just announced the first WASP tour in 10 years in the U.S., waspnation.com. Of course, this being a national broadcast, go to the website, see if there's a date near you. The tour features Armored Saint on all the dates. If you're in Texas or Oklahoma, you're also getting Michael Schenker. Starts October 29th in Anaheim, wraps up December 9th in San Francisco, and there's obviously a bunch of dates you can find on the site between then. Let's get a quick break in here right now. We'll come right back with more with Blackie Lawless right after this on Trunk Nation on Volume. But Blackie, let me ask you about new music. Where are you at with that? Have you written some stuff? Is a record imminent?
The record's in the process as we speak. I mean, I've been slaving over a hot studio for ages now, and I don't know when it's going to come out, to be honest with you, because there's going to be not scheduling conflicts, but we're going to have to space it because we have this 40th anniversary box set that's going to be coming out as well. And that thing is going to be really cool because, it's going to have a big coffee table book, and there's going to be in that, we're thinking that to put the entire retrospective together, so we're going to call it 40 for 40. So 40 songs for 40 years. But in addition to that, there was a set of demos that we did before we did the first album. We demoed that record 3 times before it was ever recorded. And by the time the first album was recorded, and people say, well, why did you re-record it for the actual record? Well, that's technical, legal mumbo-jumbo that labels want to own the masters when a band first starts. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. I would have let them use the demos. The demos, no matter what people think of that first record, I mean, it's considered a classic now, and I get that and I appreciate it. Those demos are better than the first record.
Wow.
This is not some sales hype I'm giving you. I've heard them. There's a viciousness to those because what happened, and I think any band will tell you this, that, when you keep re-recording something and you do it over and over and over and over, you start to lose a little of that spontaneity, a little of that magic. And by the time we got to actually recording the record, that would have been the 4th time we recorded that. And so we peaked somewhere between, demo 2 and demo 3. And so we're going to put all 4 of those in there. And this is going to make a really cool set I'm excited about. And, on that note, for the book that I was talking about, we're going to do a thing on the website, and anybody listening now, if they want to participate in this, they can. What we're looking for people to do is if you have an old poster with a band on it, or any old memorabilia, or anything like that, we want you to go to the website at waspnation.com. Show us a picture of what this is. of what you have. And if it's something that we think we could use, we will then ask you to send it to us. Well, obviously, we'll return it. But if you do that, you will get a credit in the back of this book.
Nice. All right, so that waspnation.com is for all the WASP fans out there. If you have some cool collectible or something that you want the guys to see, you should absolutely go ahead and maybe get a chance to be in the book. Do you think there's a chance you would have a new song out, or do you want to before the tour starts? The tour still a bit down the line. I know that it's more about the history, celebrating 40 years, but would you like to try to target at least a song by the time the tour starts, or is that not important this time around?
Oh, then no, there'll be more than just one song. I mean, for that box set, we're going to put 2, 3, maybe even 4 new songs on it.
Okay, so you
want to do that. Yes, you want the retrospective and all that, but you also, you want to make it as well balanced as you can. So like I said, we've been putting some time in on this. I mean, I'll be honest with you. To do your show today. And I'm thrilled to do it. I really am. It's been a while since we talked, but my schedule right now is off the charts. Somebody asked me, they say, "Well, when do you get up?" I go, "Well, my hours kind of vary. I usually get up around 5, sometimes 6." And they go, "Oh, you're an early riser, huh?" And I go, "Well, not exactly, because I go to bed sometimes at 8, 9 o'clock." And they think, "Oh, well, this guy, he likes to get sleep." They don't realize I'm talking a 12-hour time shift. I mean, we'll go to bed at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and I'm getting up at 5 and 6 in the evening. And the reason being, when we built the studio, we never put clocks in it. Right. And I wanted it like that. I wanted it like a casino. I didn't want anybody worrying about what time it was. It's like you go in there, you work till you're tired. And some days that maybe is only 4 hours, and then you're not getting anything. We'll come back tomorrow. Some days you're in there for a long time, and those are the days you don't want to lose. So like I said, your schedule is totally backwards, and I just don't care. It's like whatever is working for me at the time is what I'm doing. So as far as having a schedule, I have no idea what that is.
Well, I'm quite nocturnal myself, so I can relate. But I get, when you're in this business, I mean, the hours are all over the map. So you just adapt and you make it work for you. So thank you for getting up early, Blackie. I know you're in California, which makes it even earlier. So trust me, I get it. A little bit. I relate completely. I have a place in Vegas now. When this show starts at 2 Eastern, when I'm in my place in Vegas, I got to set the clock to be on the air at 11 o'clock. So I get it completely. Would you want to? Do you have an autobiography in you? Would you like to do that?
What we're doing is everybody's asked for years, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? And I know everybody probably says the same thing when they've got a book they're either working on or getting ready to write. But when I sat down and really in earnest started putting stuff together, it really hit me that because, when it's your life and you get used to things that are going on around you, you think, well, it's just everyday life and this is what happens and everybody's experiencing this. Well, that may be true and it may not be true because it depends on what you're used to. And when I started writing down the stuff that actually happened, I looked at it and it really blew me away. And I thought, okay, what are we going to call this thing? And I came up with the idea of Tales from the Square Mile. And what that means is, and as the book is getting ready to release, I'll come back and do your show again. We'll talk about it. But just briefly, what that's about. When I first came to Hollywood, I lived in this area that really is the Square Mile. It's the place, the studio that I was talking about where Michael's driving the bike down the sidewalk, I was living in the closet. That was my room. It was a walk-in closet that was 3 feet wide by 12 feet long. That was my bedroom. I was in there for a year and a half. So, but in this Square Mile, it's very strange. It's not unlike New York City in some ways where you're with the haves and the have-nots side by side. But it's even more extreme in Hollywood because you can be in a situation where somebody is absolutely destitute broke, and a block down the street is a major motion picture studio. And so you have a tendency to think that if you become successful, you're going to get out of there and magically you're going to end up in some utopia somewhere, and everything is going to be different. Everything is going to be different. What I discovered was that more things were similar than were not. To give you an example, in this rehearsal room that I was telling you about, it was only about 3 blocks away from Capitol Records. That would end up being my home for 13 years. The recording studio that was Fort Apache, where we recorded the Crimson Idol, was less than a mile to the south of us. All those major recording studios are right in that square mile there. A&M Records, where we did one of our sets of early demos before the record came out, all of that stuff was done in there. So what happens is that you get a record deal, get a little bit of success, get a better car to drive, and probably living somewhere better, but you find when you work, you're still coming back to the mile. And that's the mind-blowing part. Because, like I said, you think somehow miraculously you're going to end up in this utopia situation where everything is going to be different. But it's not. Like I said, you're driving a better car, if you had a car to begin with. You're driving something better. Yeah, you're sleeping in a better place, but you're still coming back to that square mile to work. And this went on for over 20 years. It went on for the 7-year period when I first moved here, and I had nothing, and I mean nothing, and then started having some success, and the studios in town. To give you an example, where the studio was on the corner of Santa Monica and Vine. A few years prior to that, before we got a record deal, when WASP was first together, there was a laundromat that was catty-corner to our building. There was a laundromat over there. We would rehearse in there after 9 o'clock at night, because we worked out a deal with the owner where he would let us rehearse in there for like $50 a week. Fast forward 10 years, I now own the building catty-corner to that intersection that we're now making our records in. I can look out of the front door of the studio and still see the laundromat over across the street where we used to rehearse in at night. You know, and I remember telling somebody, you know, we were standing on the street corner from where this rehearsal room was in Hollywood. We're now around the corner at SIR Rehearsal Studios, which was very expensive. And for somebody, you know, that had never experienced something like that, that was a big deal for us at the time. And I remember telling Chris, we were standing on the corner waiting across the street, and we could look and see where our old rehearsal place was at one end of the street, and then we could see SIR on the other. And I told him, I says, you know what? That's the longest 100 yards I ever walked in my life. I mean, if you think about it, it's true. But it was all in that square mile. Yeah. And it continued to be for years and years after we started having success. So you, like I said, you think somehow it's going to be different, but more of it was similar than it wasn't. And it's that's kind of a mind-blowing experience once the reality sets in, because even though you've had success, you're still driving into those places, and you're driving right by the places where you used to live or used to rehearse or whatever, and nothing changes.
Yeah. Hey, I got 10 minutes about left here, and I promised a couple callers I'd let them get on with you. One more quick one from me. Recently, we lost Frankie Banali, and he was a part of the WASP lineup as well. What are your memories about Frankie and what he brought to the band?
Where do you start? You know, I mean, you're talking about the first guy I met the very first night I was ever in Hollywood. And just, you know, when I was talking about strange things that happened in my life, this would certainly rank as one of them. I mean, what's the chances of that happening, that he was new, I was new, and you end up not just remaining friends, but actually doing work of substance together? I mean, Frankie was one of those guys. He was a musician's musician. And I'm not just saying this because he's gone now. I mean, because it's a fact. I learned a lot of stuff from him. And one of the things I learned from Frankie was what him and I used to refer to as the toolbox, where you are so well-rounded enough, not only can you carry on conversations about Tito Puente or Miles Davis or things that aren't related necessarily to the genre that you may be in, but you know how to do a lot of that stuff that they do. And so when Frankie and I would be working together, we would literally go outside the box looking for ideas. And there was very little that he couldn't do. And if we ever came up with an idea of something that he was struggling with, he'd figure out a way of making it work because he could go to that toolbox and start cobbling enough things together that he could figure out a way to make it work. He was extraordinary when it comes to that. And as a friend, I miss him. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt when he passed, my Hollywood childhood went with him.
Yeah. Let me do this, Blackie. I know I told you we would not hold you through a break, but timing-wise, it's going to work out a little bit better. So I'm going to do a quick break here, Joel. Blackie, if you don't mind sitting through like 2-3 minute break, and when we come back, we'll have about 10 minutes left. And I could talk to you all day. It's been too long. We'll do more down the line. I promised a few phone calls, and you were nice enough to say it's cool to have a few callers join us.
Sure.
So right after this break, a few of you folks, I'll let you on the air to say hi to Blackie Lawless. Again, waspnation.com. The tour is now announced. Check out and see if there's a date coming near you. Go to the site right now. We'll come right back.
Hi. Welcome back, unless they're fixing.
Like the Comic-Con of music.
With a trunk.
Thank you for keeping that love of music alive.
Sirius XM.
I love it.
Volume.
All right, we got a few more minutes left to go. I could talk to Blackie forever, and we'll hopefully do more down the line, but I promised the audience a chance to say a quick hello, ask a quick question. Time is short, so we'll get as many in as we can here. Let us begin with David, who's in California first up. David, you're on with Blackie Lawless.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, Blackie. Thanks for the time.
Hi, David. How are you?
Good. I'm going to stick in the magical period, as you called it, 83. I have a question regarding Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil album comes out. It's a breakthrough album for the band. They're on tour with Ozzy. They're playing the US Festival. Little did I know that the look and image of that band was identical to a band called Sister, your band. And my question is, what was your headspace at that time, seeing this and thinking, that could have been me, should have been me, that will be me? What were your thoughts on that?
I was at a period in my life where I was more interested in writing songs, and I didn't really think I would probably ever play live again. I know that may sound strange to you right now, but I was concentrating on songwriting. And Nicky and I had been really good friends. I mean, him and I were tight. And so he comes to me one day and he says, "Hey, you going to use any of that stuff you used to use?" And I said, "No, not really." He says, "Do you mind if I use it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever you want to do." I mean, I gave him a couple of cautionary tales about, getting into the occult stuff, which went kind of through one ear and out the other, but, it was what he wanted to do. So I really, that was his thing, whatever he wanted to do. But, anytime you reach a point in your career where you think you're going to go one direction and you end up going somewhere else. I mean, to be totally honest, when I was talking about these early demos, believe it or not, we never had any intention of playing live. We never thought we were going to play live until we got to the end of doing all those demos, and Chris and I started talking one day and said, well, maybe we ought to take these out and try them in front of people. We think some of these songs are okay. Why don't we give them a shot? That's where then we started going back to what him and I knew before. So that's the genesis of it.
Why do you think Sister didn't happen, Blackie? Why do you think that WASP happened, Sister didn't? Just timing?
Timing. Yeah, because there was, if you go back and you look at the late 70s in L.A., there was only one band that came out of here at that time, and that was Van Halen. And I could tell you a story about how that happened, but it was kind of a fluke the way it happened. There was another band that Ted Templeman went to see that night, and I won't mention who they are, but Van Halen happened to be opening the show. And Van Halen got paid a case of beer that night, but Ted Templeman saw them, and what's the old expression? Lives have been changed by missing a bus, or destinies. You know, so things like that happen.
Why won't you say who the band
that came out of here?
Why won't you say who the band is who he went to see?
I don't want to embarrass them, because Ted Templeman went to see them.
Did they ever become anything?
Yes, they did.
It's probably in a book somewhere. I probably know, but I'm probably spacing. But all right, here's Joe in Nevada. Joe, go ahead. You're on with Blackie Lawless.
Hi, Blackie. My name's Joe.
Hi, Joe.
How you doing? Glad to hear
Good,
you coming back in concert.
Ain't we all?
Yes. I've been trying to log on while I'm listening to you also to get the tickets for Anaheim. And it's not letting me through yet, but I'm going to keep trying. I just want one quick question.
Well, I think they just went up about an hour ago, so it might take you a little bit.
Yeah, the tour actually got announced with this show, with the announcement of it at 3:00 Eastern. So it's probably just getting ramped up. Joe, keep trying. What's your question for Blackie?
I will. I just wanted to ask him, since you're doing some new album coming up, are you going to include any of your older songs, like from Sister or even from Killer Kane? Even one, I would love to hear it. The old version, or if you could re-record one of them. That would be the most awesome thing to hear.
I wouldn't think so, because I think any of that stuff that you're referring to, you could find it on YouTube. I mean, somebody's documented it somewhere at some time. And I also think, just from my own personal position, I would want to do something newer. Because again, what I was talking about earlier in the show is that the best way to make music is to reflect who you are at the moment, not who you were 5 years ago or where you think you might be in 5 years from now, because you can't write from an honest perspective, especially the lyrics. So anything I'm going to do, I'm going to try to give you a little snapshot of what's going on in my head at the moment.
Got a couple minutes here left. Here's Al in Jersey. Go ahead, Al, jump in.
Blackie, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Another Jersey boy, how are you?
I'm good. Just real quick, I want to put in a request for Hallowed Ground. Maybe you could play that song on the tour, being a fellow New Jerseyan and 9/11, hitting close to home.
It has been discussed. So. It has definitely been discussed.
Cool. My question, I'll be real quick. Going back to your stage show and how extreme, you guys, put on a show. I can't help but think, that a lot of bands in the black metal genre really took a lot of cues from your ideas. Has any bands or artists in that genre ever come up to you and thanked you, or just gave you props for that?
Well, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. To answer your question, yes. But what I never really understood, and this is maybe my childlike naivete, I never could understand the connection between the two. But apparently there was a number of them that saw it. I've never asked anyone specifically what it was we were doing that pointed them in that direction, because I know what our direction was when we first started. We had a theory of we were going to look more like a punk band meets Road Warrior, but we were going to play more mainstream music. I mean, that was the whole basis, our foundation, or the philosophy of where we started. So to see it morphed into another direction, yeah, I've heard it a lot of times, but if you had to ask me why, I couldn't tell you.
All right, well, listen, I got to wrap this up here, but WASP 40 Years Live World Tour. Folks, all you guys asking me and asking Blackie and asking anyone, where's WASP? When are they going to play America? First time in 10 years, you got a tour starting October 29th in Anaheim and running through mid-December. You just heard early on in the show, Blackie talked about the development of the stage show. They're working on that now. Set list working on that now. And a lot of great stuff. Armored Saints, special guest on all the dates. If you're in Texas or Oklahoma, you're also getting Michael Schenker. My friend, it's so great to connect with you and hear from you again. I'm so happy you're doing this, and it's wonderful
I've had
talking
a
as
ball
always.
doing this. This was an hour and a half. It went by like 5 minutes,
It did. It always does when we get talking. So anytime you want to come back on, maybe we'll do more when we get closer to the start of the tour. I get to LA quite a bit. Hopefully, maybe we can even do something in person. But all the best to you. All the best to you for the new year.
All right,
and
take care, bud.
on behalf of all the rock fans, welcome back to the U.S. We're psyched to have you.
Thanks a million.
All right, there he goes, everybody. Blackie Lawless again. WASPNation.com is the website to find the dates, information. There's also a Facebook page. There's a Twitter. There's an Instagram. Just search for those official outlets. Keep up everything going on with WASP and this tour, music, box set, book, all of that. One of my favorites from the very first WASP album, Love Machine, taking us out here on Trunk Nation. Thanks to Blackie. Thanks to you for listening. I'll be back live tomorrow, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, here on Trunk Nation, talking more rock with you. Take care.